Yes. Don't yawn.
Oh shit, we're live.
Not yet. I don't think so. I think Instagram has to get caught up first. Either Instagram or something. Hey, all right.
We're back.
Where have you been?
I took a long walk
Took a walk.
and I moved a lot of stuff around.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Taking a walk sometimes.
That's what I got. I took a long walk with some stuff.
He took a walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Where have
okay.
you been?
I took a drive. I drove. It took me about a year, but I got to South Carolina. So I had to leave time zones. Like I'm sick of mountain time.
Yeah.
Sick of doing math just to be on somebody else's show. It was
right.
It was intolerable. Anyway, yeah, so we're back, everybody. We've been doing some stuff behind the scenes for a while, and we both have very busy lives in different categories. Mine's less busy than Dylan's, I think. But either way, we decided that it's time that we start doing something. We got to do something. We have computers, we have microphones. We might as well do it. So we're going to put together a quick live show, maybe every couple weeks. Who knows? Who knows what we're going to do? We're just trying to get a feel for it. So for everybody out there who cares, thank you very much. We appreciate it. People asking where we've been, and I didn't feel like answering that anymore. So, where
I'm
we've
where
been.
I'm where I have been. I haven't gone anywhere else. Well, my backdrop is different right now.
That looks way different.
Yeah. I'm sitting down now. I used to do this standing up.
It's true.
I will do it standing up again at some point.
Those calves need it. You know that.
They do. They're tight today.
All right. So for those who don't know, we are some nobodies. My name is Zach. This is Dylan. We are content creators. We make a bunch of weird stuff. We like to make each other giggle. We have a host of friends that do podcasting and that we like them. And we want to do more stuff with them. So we figured, let's get back into the biz, right? Let's get back our podcast Riz. Kids are saying it these days.
I think they do still say that.
Oh, that's already on the Riz is already on its way out?
I think so. I saw it on a billboard the other day. It was a billboard for car rentals or car insurance.
Dang.
Where it was an emoji of, what was it? It was like a car emoji and a graph numbers go up emoji.
Okay.
And then an equal sign that says up your Riz with our car rentals or something like that.
Whoa, that is top notch. I've been saving some of these hotter words, these cooler words for when we were doing live shows again. I'm glad that Riz isn't already outdated.
What else you got, Zach? What other young kid terminology are you using?
Well, eventually, during one of our bits, I'm probably going to spill some tea. That's a pretty big thing that I think kids just started saying. It is based on sitting around having high tea with your grandmother, and you saying something so outrageous that she spills some tea.
Okay.
So it's dropping some news that makes you spill your cup of tea. So with that being said, we're talking about news, baby. All right. So here we're probably going to talk about current releases, any weird things that I can find in the news that I want to get Dylan's cold responses to. But first and foremost, I guess we're going to talk quickly about Mad Max Furiosa, Mad Max Saga of Furiosa, right? We both saw it.
Something like that,
it is the Furiosa, which I think is Spanish for mad. So this is the new mad person, just mad. They don't get the other moniker. Right. And it's a
Max Saga.
A Max Saga.
We'll eventually go to HBO.
HBO Max, right? Which is no longer HBO, I don't think. Who knows?
No, it's not.
Yeah, so we saw the movie, not together because we are states and states away, but we did see it with our eyes. And with our mouths, we're going to talk about it. But we're going to do spoiler free just because it just came out this weekend. And, in case you're catching up to this a little bit after live, I don't want you to.
If you turn this show off, you're not going to come back. So we're just
You're
going to do
not.
spoilers.
You're not coming back. So yeah, Mad Max came out, starring Anya Taylor-Joy, Chris Hemsworth, and most of the cast from Fury Road.
Fair
There's
amount of
some,
them.
you know, obviously Morton Joe, that actor passed, so they had to recast him.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, yeah, and Chris Hemsworth, Chris Hemsworth, his wife is in it, and they play two characters. That is confirmed, by the way. Remember, I said that to you. Like, was that the
Yes.
same? Yeah, that is confirmed. She did play different characters. You see her in the beginning as one of the Vuvolani, and the movie revolves around what Furiosa's culture was like before Fury Road. Like, if you've seen Fury Road and you're like, man, I wonder how she got that arm, or man, I wonder where that character came from initially. That's what this movie is. I had some time to digest it, even though we did speak on it the other night pretty extensively.
Yeah.
But what was your overall take of this movie?
Walking out of the theater, I was, it's good. The inevitable thing about this movie is that you're going to compare it to Fury Road, which is, I think, fair. I think that's a fair comparison to make. It's a prequel. It's by most of the same team, got most of the same people. It is it's straight up prequel.
Yeah.
And I think since I've left the theater, it's dipped about half a star.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I'm trying to rationalize this movie and try to make it better in my mind. And I think that what you said is very apt. I think the problem with this is you have to compare this to Fury Road, which is a magnificent film. And I think that isn't fair to this movie. I think that the disservice that this movie does is it doesn't expand on anything. It doesn't really expand. It actually makes the world feel smaller because you already know these areas, right? So now it just seems like, oh, so this is all the areas that there are. Like, we see the Vuvolani area in the very beginning. And other than that, it's, you know, Bullet Town, it's the gas farm or whatever, and the Citadel, which we've already seen. And outside of a couple like pretty magnificent like action shots, I think them getting to the Citadel in the beginning thing where, you know, Hemsworth was very egotistical. It was like, I'm taking this, blah blah. I think that was a very cool scene. My thing is, I think the first half an hour of this is top notch.
Yeah.
And then I think that nothing else in the movie can reach that again.
The pacing is very strange after that first half hour.
Yeah. And
you have these moments of, like, the first half hour is very much like pretty high octane chase, escape, capture sort of thing. After that, it slows down really dramatically. And then there are these spikes of action that kind of go into these lulls afterwards.
Yeah. And I think that I felt that the first time when I saw the chapter title. When I saw it was chapter 1, I was like, oh, like,
I was surprised.
I was surprised. And that lets me know that I have to be a little more patient. You know, like, that's like, slow down. Like, this is going to be a chapter book, you know? So I thought that was a lot of it. I thought was some very weird choices made. I did like the movie. Like, it was entertaining. You know, I didn't want to walk out.
It's not bad by any means. It's just not quite there. And I tried to temper my expectations going in.
Yeah. And I did do some research, and it turns out that, like, Anya Taylor-Joy apparently didn't have the greatest of time filming this. They felt like they were kind of alone the majority of the shoots. And you can kind of see that, like, in how the movie shot. Fred, hello, sir. Thank you very much. Also, quick shout out to Fred. If it wasn't for Fred, this would be 2 hours later. My computer, for some reason, is stuck in Mountain Time. I no longer live in Mountain Time. So when I set it up for 8 p.m., it thought it was 8 p.m. Colorado. And 3:30 in the morning, Fred texts me on my personal line. He's like, "You can't do it that late. That's too late for me. I got to get to bed."
That's late.
No, I'm kidding. But he did let me know that the time was incorrect, which is great, because, you know, I don't get a lot of time with Dylan anymore, so I want to make sure that I do it right. Yeah. So all in all, like, is it a must see in the theater? You think?
Oh, I still think seeing it in theaters is probably the best way to do it. The view of everything, I think, is best on a big screen.
Yeah, and I think the best thing about this is do not, if you can, do not watch Fury Road right before this, and do
Mm-mm.
not compare this to Fury Road.
No.
I think you'll like it a lot more. Honestly, our Joy does a great job. Everyone
Yeah,
does a great job.
everybody's
Like
good.
Hemsworth is
He's having a
charming.
great time.
He's entertaining. He has like a really cool voice inflection thing going on. Um, hey, you got it. That's what we're about. Let's see, news. Okay, so I was looking up the news, Dylan, and I want to run this past you before we move on to the category. And people are freaking out about this movie, Madam Web. Have you heard about this movie?
A little bit here and
Yeah.
there,
So we both saw this movie in the theater
several times,
several times,
independently of each other.
independently and inadvertently. He went to see it on his own. I think the days it came out, and then he told me that a buddy asked him the next day, and he had to go again. And I saw this in the theater and was just blown away by it. I could not understand this movie. Like I was just shocked about every part of this movie. So much so that I started a whole new project because of how this movie broke my brain, which should be out very soon, by the way. We're kind of tweaking this a little bit, but so now that it is on Netflix, and now that a lot more people have the ability to enjoy Madam Web, why do you think it's getting like any kind of attention, any kind of riz? Why is this happening?
God, I think we're at the tail end of the superhero mania, and I think we're at the point where the good ones are elevated, most of the rest are discarded, and the really baffling bad ones are elevated again. Like you have like the sides are spiking.
Yeah.
And this movie is, I think everybody working on it tried.
Yeah.
Maybe not Dakota Johnson. I think she realized partway through. There are scenes where I'm like, she knew there's spots where I'm like, oh, she knew when they were shooting the scene that this was bad, or this was before she understood what was up.
Yeah.
This movie is so bafflingly put together and so strangely like it's kind of winding because it tries to sidestep all the Spider-Man of it in really weird ways.
Yeah. Now,
and there's so much.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So much to talk about for this movie.
When Morbius came out and people watched it, right? They went to it and they were like just laughing at it, and you could tell that the studios didn't really get the joke properly, and re-released it in theaters, and it was a bit of a money grab. Do you think that this is a better way of doing that, where like you can make sure that the people that haven't seen it see it and can understand that it is a terrible movie, but in the ways that you think?
I would never put it past Sony to not get the joke.
Yeah, true.
Whatever they wind up doing with it, I think it's going to be the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Unless they just quietly push it to streaming and they're like, here you go, you animals.
Yeah.
Enjoy your slop.
Just take it. Just eat it.
Just empty that bucket into the trough.
You already pay for Netflix, you jerks. Just eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of media, what are you consuming? What are you into these days? What are you?
What am I doing? What am I consuming these days? I'm reading. I'm getting caught up in 2 web serials right now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm reading Worm. It's a superhero one. It's one of the most popular web serials out there. It's about a girl in high school who gets the ability to control bugs and falls in with some supervillains, and it escalates in a very interesting way, and it does superheroes in a very interesting way.
Yeah.
And then I'm reading Unsong, which is another web serial about, in an alternate history in 1968, the Apollo mission slams into the crystal sphere around the planet when it tries to go to the moon. Cracks the sky open, and like Kabbalistic, like biblical magic comes back, and the laws about reality start breaking down.
Oh, cool.
And it's in a very it's also very it's a very interesting magic system where like the names of God are spells, and like the vanishing name makes you invisible, and you have to recite it, and it's like 16 syllables, and it makes you invisible the same way every time.
Oh, right on.
And reality is breaking down in a very interesting way, and that one is very fun because the narration is so heavily characterized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've mentioned this book to me before, and I did not pay attention to that earlier. But then recently, you're like, you need to get this. I actually just bought it on my whatever e-reader, and I'm liking it so far. It must be crazy to listen to some of what I think are my ideas, and it turns out that it's already other media that you've been consuming.
Right.
Yeah, that must be hard to not think that I'm just plagiarizing things constantly, because a lot of what we have talked about or thought we were making up somehow turns into actual products, which
Yeah.
I've been finding pretty interesting recently,
Well, this
which
is
is good.
almost a decade old,
Right.
so
I'm not
yeah.
saying this was ours, yeah, but the
Yeah.
idea of like the flip side to superheroes, I think, is always something that I find very
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, I think as far as me, I watched a movie the other day. I don't know if you've heard of Boy Kills World.
I saw that in theaters, yes.
Yeah, that was a very interesting, not great, but very unique movie.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Boy Kills World, pretty much it's Skarsgård, Alexander. No,
Yeah. Bill Skarsgård.
Bill
No?
Skars. No, Bill was the one in True Blood, right? No, that was,
Alexander Skarsgård.
I don't know. It's
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 I
the
think it's
younger
Bill.
Skarsgård.
It's Pennywise.
Pennywise and the
Yeah.
Crow. Is that Bill? Okay, yeah. So Bill Skarsgård, he plays a character that through it is a fever dream of a movie, but through some plot devices, he is mute and deaf, and can't, he has no hearing, and he has never heard his own voice, or can't remember what his voice sounds like. So he,
Mhm.
in his brain, when he thinks about things, instead of him having his own voice, you get the voice of H. John Benjamin,
Yes.
who is the voice of Arthur, or Bob from Bob's Burgers, because that was his favorite video game character that he can remember. And watching Skarsgård just whip ass while Archer is talking to
Yeah.
people that are not there is so incredible to me. And I thought that was so unique. What did you think about that movie?
I thought it was entirely style.
Yeah, all style.
Like not a whole lot of substance to it. Didn't do anything super unique, I thought. I liked it more than things about it bothered me.
Yeah, I think that's kind of because like the fight was overly choreographed, and it wasn't shot very well, and really moved the camera a lot on you
Yeah.
so that you don't see how unpolished these fight scenes are.
It felt like the setting to an Ubisoft video game from 2014, where
Oh,
you
cool.
go through a city that's nondescript and kind of tropical and
Yeah.
very conquered, and you're supposed to climb up buildings to unlock viewpoints, and you have 5 bosses that you can confront in whatever order you like.
Yeah.
I think overall I'm starting to get tired of highly choreographed action revenge thrillers.
Especially ones that are not trying hard to be special. You know, like
Yeah.
you can't just like, I saw Monkey Man. Did you see Monkey Man?
I saw Monkey Man.
I thought that was
I liked Monkey Man more than I liked Boy Kills World.
100%. That's what I was gonna say. I feel like
So.
I feel like that is a better version of what Boy Kills World tried to do, but then they had to stylize it a little bit and make it Smoking Aces too.
Well, I mean, Monkey Man has commentary. Monkey Man has something to say about the world that
Oh,
it has a part of.
true.
Boy Kills World doesn't.
Mhm.
The sensationalization of violence in media, I suppose, but I don't know.
Yeah.
If H. John Benjamin wasn't in it, I would not have any really positive. It would slip from my mind faster than it already has.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Also, for this segment, if we keep this going, I want to talk about some of our other friends' podcasts and just give them a quick shout out and see your thoughts on some of these. Jeff Dwoskin is obviously a big friend of ours. He was on all of our shows at some point, and I think we've both been on his show. I've been on it roughly 1 billion times.
Sure.
I'm not sure It's very much, Dylan.
It's been a minute since I was on it once or twice a while ago. Yeah.
He has a show called Classic Conversations, and great show. He's a really cool interviewer. He does the research, which I can applaud. You know, when we were back interviewing people like weekly, I could not consume the media properly to be able to ask the right questions. So luckily, most of ours was about their content creation and not themselves. But Jeff does a great job of interviewing people, asking the questions I think people actually want to hear, which is cool. And he just wrapped up his, he did the Roger Corman's Fantastic Four movies. He did characters from that. And his most recent one was the guy who played Dr. Doom. I completely forget his name.
I don't remember his name, but I know of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was like, when I watched that series Doomed, I thought that was like the Dr. Doom character was the guy that stood out to me the most. It seemed like he cared about this character so much, and he was trying to take it seriously, and he wanted to do such a good job. And I thought that was super interesting. Yeah, so I think Jeff has interviewed 4 cast members from the Corman ones, which is awesome. Yeah, that's cool. I don't know if you saw, I think Scene Snob. I think Mr. McManhattan just got back from the Carolina Reaper Fest.
I saw that he was there. Yeah.
Yeah, that big horror con. Yeah, I saw a picture and he was like in front of like the Maxim Overdrive.
Hell yeah.
That truck, the Emilio Estevez movie, which I thought was super, super cool. Yeah, like a horror movie convention. Have you ever been to one of those?
Not a horror movie convention, but general fandom conventions.
Yeah. I've only been to comic book conventions, but I can assume like, you know, a horror one has to be super cool. Are you consuming any podcasts or anything? Because I was on 3 Geeks as well, talking about Planet of the Apes, and
sure,
yeah, which I like an ape movie, you know that.
Oh yeah, I like Citation Needed, not the intellectual one, the one where it's by Puzzle in a Thunderstorm. They do every week. One of them chooses a Wikipedia article and writes an essay about it as if they were an expert.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're goofy. They have a whole network of podcasts. I like a lot of the stuff they do. That's kind of the only ones I'm listening to right now.
Yeah. Right on. All right. So if you have any ideas for like a podcast, something we should check out, let us know. You know, text me, throw in the comments or whatever. Okay, so another segment that I would like to work on, Dylan, if this is going to be cool with you, is, you know, we did a lot of Talking Upstream stuff. We have 54 episodes, I think, of Talking Upstream, and I love that show. That was our first real show.
It was a real show.
it was syndicated.
Oh yeah,
it was so it was out there. And I had this idea, like we've done so many weird concepts. We've created so many ideas that, whether are completely genuine or completely original, I don't know. I mean, to us, I thought they were original when we came up with them. But it turns out that there's some cool people out there making some cool stuff.
Yeah.
So what I decided to do was I wanted to work on one of these projects with you again, because that was one of my favorite things that we did. But I didn't really know which one to pick. And I'm a super fan of any kind of brackets, you know, any kind of systems that just whittle things down for me, because I don't want to deal with it. Sure. So I put all of our episodes, all the winning titles of an episode, into a 54 bracket, right? The single elimination sports style bracket. And what it chose to go first was seed number 1, which I'm just going to say that all of our concepts are seeds, because I think we tried to make them as interesting when we had them. So seed number 1 was a concept that we came up with called Super Empowered. That was episode 1 of Talking Upstream. It was super empowered, and the concept was, you know, behind the world of superheroes, but the people that have just D-level powers, right? Just almost bad powers, and how they deal with that through the concept of like therapy, through voice therapy, counseling, that kind of thing. So it was a group of superheroes that got together for, you know, therapy, for just being bullied, I guess. Is that what you remember?
It was various problems that stemmed from being superheroes.
Yeah, and I think that we came up with a lot of really cool characters for this. I remember one of the ones that stood out because the character I wanted to play the most was this a guy called, I think, Frank the Goose. Was that Frank?
Oh, yeah.
But he was mostly Goose, but just from like the body down. Like he just
Yeah.
had like a goose's butt and feet. And it is technically a power, you know, because
Yeah.
maybe he got bit by. I forget exactly how he got those powers, but I remember
Man Goose. Yeah.
Mangoose, yeah.
That was it.
And I remember liking a lot of these characters that we came up with. So yeah, I think that's an easy number one seed. I think that was when we decided to do the show. That was the idea that we decided to go with on episode 1. And the bracket also had us seed number 32. And in episode 32, super great co-host, we had B Highland on the show. That they were on there as the decider of our problems. And if you don't know, B and Michael Colby, really a great show. You know, JoJo's Bizarre. What's the name of it? I forget the name, the actual like name of it. I just
we should have done a research, huh?
Should have done some research on this one, yeah. But I know they do a podcast about JoJo, and they're great. They've been on every one of our shows.
No,
they were on No Time to Binge with us as well. Check, and also Deep Lore, which is a great podcast. So check out anything Bees. But anyway, on Bees episode, we had an idea called Beetle Deity, which turned into Ant God, which I still don't know if I like that title better. But the concept of this was that somebody walked outside of their house and they see that the ants, a colony of ants, started writing words out on, you know, on the I guess in English on their lawn. And they kind of viewed the human that lived there as their god, and they just needed help in this ant civil war or something like that. And I thought it was really cool. We worked on that a lot. We have full 3 arcs written down, which I'm super into. So if you had to pick one of these two and you had to kind of talk it out loud, which one of these 2 projects do you think is worth a little bit more time, a little bit more of our mental energy, our mentality?
I mean, part of this is influenced by what I'm reading right now, but I think Ant God is probably different from more stuff out there and probably has other stuff we could do with it.
Yeah.
Like
what was it about?
Superhero therapy is a funny idea, but yeah, I don't know.
What was it specifically about that Ant God or Beetle Deity that really stuck out to you? What part of that did you want to work on a little more?
Well, I mean, wasn't there a whole subplot about like the ants help like the other neighbor across the street or something is getting messages from a different ant hive, and the 2 ant hives want them to kill the other hive, and the 2 of them fall in love instead.
Yeah, that's what we had set up so far.
I just think that's an interesting twist on that, where it's you know, it's what I like in low level weird storytelling is something weird's happening and we use it to tell a human story. And it's like, 2 people on the same block somehow randomly are able to talk to ants.
Yeah.
And the 2 of them wind up together. I don't know. The ants
I think that's hilarious.
handled ants. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. So that is 2 votes. Me and Dylan, 2 votes for Beetle Deity. So next week, unless votes get shifted by anybody saying anything to us, either in the streets or in my my PO box, anything at all that might sway the votes, we're gonna say that Beetle Deity moves on to the next thing. So if you like this idea, tune in. If you want to see what we're doing next, let me know, and I'll kind of put up which 2 we're going to talk about next time. And
couldn't even make an actual bracket for people to see.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have that. I can put it on here, but whatever.
Next time.
Next time. All right. All right. So talking upstream, we're gonna keep talking about talking later on. So if you're interested in that, let me know. All right. So next, let's talk about tropes.
Yes.
One of the things that we work on a lot is either avoiding or utilizing tropes properly. And I think that it's something that, when done improperly, stands out and can take you out of a movie. When done correctly, I mean, it's a trope for a reason. Like there is a use for them somewhere. It's just the majority of people kind of lean on them a little too much. But I wanted to chat with you about tropes for a second. And what would you say is a trope that you're super interested in?
I mean, the first one that came to mind about this is I found a YouTube channel that talks about like disaster movies from the mid 2000s, and that trope where so many of those movies started, where it was the film opens on a newsreel and it would cut between news broadcasts focusing on like the one that comes to mind most, partially because it's relevant, is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the first one.
Okay.
Because it starts, no, does it? It starts with like a
Not Dawn, no.
no,
Dawn is
Rise.
about Alzheimer's.
Rise does. World War Z does.
Furiosa technically
Furiosa kind of does.
Yeah.
And I Am a Legend is kind of the one, for some reason that one sticks out, where it's oh man,
I hate that movie.
It is so but like it starts very randomly with Emma Thompson talking about curing cancer on like a talk show.
Yeah.
And I was just, that's the first one that came to mind when we had started talking about doing this kind of thing, where I'm like, I don't know why that's the forefront of my brain right now, but newscast exposition.
Yeah, it is a weird one. And I'm assuming the majority of people use that trope because they want to quickly establish a world, but they don't have the visual like aspect behind that, right? To be able to set somebody into a world where you need them to know things, but you don't have the ability of doing it, then yeah, you got to flash some newsreels. I think in the beginning of Furiosa, it starts with like, there's a bomb and there's water shortages all over Australia, and you know,
and then it cuts to that same shot of the trees waving in the explosion as Fury Road.
Yeah,
same shot.
Yeah,
it's okay. I guess
it is very weird. And can you remember an instance where that trope was used effectively? Because I can't.
District 9.
Oh, okay.
But that's partially because that entire movie is that.
Yeah, that movie is special because it gives you information in such a side manner that you don't realize that you're getting information because you're too busy figuring out information they've given you, which I think is really cool. Can you see a way that you see why that trope should ever be done?
I mean, I get it, I guess. Like, yeah, it's like what you said, where it's kind of like, let's get us into the movie. Let's just get us in. Let's just go. Like, you already know what's happening. I don't know. Like, we just need to know what's happening. Yeah. But I think especially for like that 2007 to 2012 era of like Battle Los Angeles, like that beige military period of Hollywood.
Yeah.
I think that's probably where it's used the least effectively.
Yeah, I can't think of a time that when I saw the newsreels clipping or I heard like the, you know, this is in U.S. blah blah. I can't think of a time that I was eased by that, you know, or like be like, okay, now I know where I am. It's like, you can show me this. Yeah, I don't like the trope. I don't think I like a lot of tropes, but that trope is one that I find just discomforting immediately. I'm like, oh, they can't show me this. They have to just tell me quickly. Yeah. I do like movie tropes. I think that a lot of them are fun. Like, I think that either done very properly or even like very improperly, I think it's kind of funny. Like, obviously there's a bunch of weird movie tropes out there, and one that the first one always comes to my mind is like the mirror, when you the jump scare mirror. But yeah, the war footage in the beginning of something is just immediate exposition, and that's tough to follow. All right, well, that was talking tropes. We talk tropes sometimes, and sometimes we like them, and sometimes we don't. All right, well, we wanted to get the first one out there. We wanted to dust off these mics. We wanted to figure out how to do this again and what we were trying to do. So if it was a little bit sloppy, sorry, we're rusty.
I'm not apologizing.
Don't. Honestly, you don't have to. I'll do all the apologizing for it, because most of this
there we go.
fault. I shoved you into this. Like,
not really.
no,
it's more like I let you grab my hand and pull me along.
And that's all I've ever wanted. Just let me take your hand and drag you with me. But either way, everyone who pays attention, I sincerely appreciate you. As you know, I have a fractured ego, and I need constant attention. And I absolutely love every single one of you. I love talking to people, and I love talking to Dylan. And I've missed him. And hopefully this way I can rope into hanging out and listening to some news anytime. All right, so give us some suggestions of things we got to talk about. Give us let me know how you think about talking upstream, or even this. If you wanted to
tell us to say something on the air.
Yeah, or just tell us to suck it, which is what I thought you were going to say.
Also that.
Yeah. I got 2 words for you. Suck it.
Oh, no. Okay.
Remember when that was like a thing and everyone was like, ah.
No.
Oh, you're from like Montana, so
Ohio's the Montana of the Midwest. Yes, that's right.
You're from Michigan, which I don't think is in Ohio. I'm not really sure about that.
I grew up in Ohio. Oh, whatever.
They didn't have WWE over there. Either way,
in Ohio.
That's true. Either way, if you want to find us, find us. If you don't, I still appreciate it. Just pay attention. Pay attention to anything. Listen to some fun podcasts. Talk to your friends. Reach out to somebody and just say hey, and let them know you appreciate them.
Look both ways if you're crossing the street.
That's true. Yeah. And he's been Dylan.
Yeah.
I've been Zach. But
that's all we got.
And I'm gonna put some buttons here.
Oh, what? Put the overlay up. Put the overlay up.
Is that this? No, that's not.
God, take me off.